Section 4 of HR analytics. I think this is one topic which is very close to me. And today we are actually going to focus on the recruitment element. Okay. So those who already know me, again, you can just go to the, LinkedIn, or you can go to my site and then know more about me. In a very simple note, yes, I've been more into the human process intervention and a organization development consultant. So the consultancy do includes the analytics front, and being an author onto the research methodology, because I do a lot of research, and research can only happen when you are into the analytics. So this is what a small snippet. Again, if you really want to pursue your certification course, you can join the Prism Philosophy course, and a lot of people have actually got advantage of it. You want to reach out to me on my social media platform, which is Anubhavalia and hashtag Prism Philosophy. Else, Anubhavalia into the various social platform, whether it is Twitter or Flickr or Insta, LinkedIn. So can connect with me anytime you can connect with me. Great. So let's start, the sessions, the certain tips and hygiene that we keep following in the session. And I think let me deep dive here what we are going to do. So, in the session 1, we have already talked about overview of HR, concepts of HR, people force, workforce element, analytics, and definitely history, importance, challenges. In the session 2, we focused on the tools, career, and analytics domain, whereas in session 3, we focused on the training and development matrix, that various matrix that you can use, highlighting the LMS versus LRS, what are the top training matrix which we use, and how we can further improvise our trainings and the training effectiveness. So, ladies and gentlemen, today's session will actually focus into the 4 element, which is measuring approaches, what are the various types of recruitment matrices that we use, and the most frequent used matrix, and what are the ways to benchmark. So I will highlight on these 4 today. So with this, let me start. The measuring approach that we use are categorized into the 4 element, which is nothing but efficiency, effectiveness, sourcing, marketing, and business impact. So, when let us try and understand, there are many metrics to consider in assessing the recruiting programs. And what exactly is recruiting? It is nothing but when we end up attracting or shortlisting and then selecting and appointing the right suitable candidate for our organization for a particular job. It could be either permanent or either it could be temporary. So efficiency focuses on time to fill, time to promote, hiring processes and workflows. It also has a recruiter workload element too. The effectiveness highlights onto the cost front, which is like cost per hire, cost per quality candidate, candidate's qualification for that matter, and even hiring manager satisfaction. The third element which focuses on is the sourcing marketing. So sourcing and marketing actually hires and the candidates by source. It is like from the career side, traffic, promotions on the social media network. So this is where we do the sourcing and marketing. When we talk about business impact, now business impact actually focuses on the candidate's performance, hiring manager satisfaction, the productivity and retention. Now why these in particular? Because they are universal metrics, and these are often the only ones which are needed as per my experience and what I have observed. And it provides a solid launching pad for the conversation between the hiring managers and the senior management. So these core metrics are the foundation of more comprehensive program by following these approaches. So these 4 approach becomes very, very relevant. Now each has a variation, the number variation which we talk about into the descriptive analytics. Now for an example, when I talk about time can be measured as the amount of time for a candidate to start or to accept an offer, or how long it takes to fill up a position. So the time from accepted offer to start the day, the start date, and further on we start actually calculating it. So if your metrics program is for that matter, let's say, is new to you, you need to keep your things really simple and very easy and very handy. So the important metrics are those what your stakeholders actually care about, and the business values which they want to drive out of it. So once they learn to appreciate a few key metrics, my understanding would be you just emphasize on those metrics only, because your stakeholders will probably suggest the additional one because on the day-to-day requirement. So, the types of recruiting metrics that we use are nothing but, if you will see, I have highlighted on the time front, cost front, and so on, like source analytics and satisfaction, candidate quality, and so on. So in the time front, there is time to source, time to process, time to offer, time to interview, time to start, time to hire. These are the time frame element. When we talk about the cost are the cost per hire, which we also call it CPH. Recruiting cost ratio, recruiting efficiency ratio. In sourcing analysis, we focus on the aspect of um, numbers of submits, cost per lead, cost per hire, diversity contribution, and so on. When we talk about furthermore pipeline quality, as you can see on the screen, there are various ratios that you work on. It could be on the total resumes over candidates, candidates over interview, interview over offers, and finally offers over close. Then we have candidate quality. That's another matrix which I have been using very strongly, because it's end up identifying who is the best fit for my particular organization, and specifically in a particular role that I'm actually offering. So there is a resume versus job requirement, a pre-hire job performance as desired. It could be you can actually do a calculation on a quarterly basis, 6 monthly basis, yearly basis, and some organization actually do for the new joinees also. Then there is a satisfaction. So satisfaction element comes, as I was mentioning, hiring managers, the job performance candidates, and also on the onboarding front. We have ROI, which is lower, cost, CPH, what we call it. So CPH, nothing but is cost per hire. So it working on the recurring cost ratio, contingent staff saving, reduce vacancy cost. So these are some kind of matrix which has been used by the organization. So I'll give you one insight here of measuring different things for different reasons. I'm using a very simple example of CPH, which you can see on the screen. There is a recruiter A and there is a recruiter B, right? And in this you will see that engineers, and there are their respective salary which has been mentioned, and there is also a recruiting cost which has been mentioned here. Now, some measurements are tricky, ladies and gentlemen. I will not go into the calculation mode, because you can see I have given it into the formula basis and you all can understand. So let's go on the descriptive aspect, right? Now, for an example here, the cost per hire can be measured various ways, and can, we can paint a different picture. Especially when we are comparing the performance of recruiters handling and different kinds of assignment. Considering the following example, let's say this traditional cost per hire, the formula is very simple. We all understand that, right? Now here you can see that recruiter A is much lower in the cost efficiency than the recruiter B, right? It is like $4,400 versus $12,000. But in recruiting cost ratio, which uses a total salary cost, that is, rather than just focusing on the number of hires, it is to create a fairer comparison, which is because high salaried people almost always require more time and more money to bring on board. So using this matrix, the two recruiters are actually performing about equally well. So we can't say just on the traditional cost per hire component, which we call it CPH, that A is better than B. But if you will see, when we talk about the recurring cost ratio, we have to emphasize on to the which one is important and which one is to be taken care. So my suggestion is, when you are doing a matrix approach into the recruitment, you should be knowing what is the objective that you want to calculate into your sessions and into your analysis. Now, when we say the dashboard view, so dashboard view, if you will see, uh, it comes out after using the various tools which I have already shared, right? So there is a lot of dashboards that gets highlighted, and how to use these dashboards becomes really important and really critical. So I have observed that a lot of time people work on the bar graphs, they get to know the basic element and basic measurement. My suggestion is that you should be knowing how to read these graphs and what is the depiction that you're looking at. So to understand this dashboard, let's try and understand furthermore to it, right? So what are recruitment metrics? Okay, now recruitment metrics are the measurement which is used to track basically hiring success and optimizing the process of hiring candidates for an organization. So when you have used the correctly the all the matrices which I'm going to share in some time, it will actually help you to evaluate the recruiting process that your organization is currently using. So whether your organization is actually hiring the correct person or not, we will try and understand here. So you will see that there are the different types of matrix which I have mentioned here, which is focusing on the speed, quality, and then productivity and the cost, right? I'm sure you all are very well aware of the formulas, how to calculate them. I'm not going to go deep dive into it, but if you still feel that you need an information and knowledge about it, kindly send me an email at anubhavalia@gmail.com, or else you can visit our blog, and that is anubhavalia.wordpress.com. I'm going to send you how to calculate this. I have already a very detailed element, because we are not into the HR session, we are actually focusing into the analytics. So there I will try and focus on this one, right? So if you are still exploring HR into the recruitment front, my suggestion is that you highlight you all the session is there already on the YouTube. So revisit this, or maybe you can do a screenshot right away, click this photo, and then go and check in your books, various books which are there, and learn about them. So these are the various most frequently used recruitment metrics which has been used, and I'm going to emphasize on these 19 of them. Okay, so these 19, let's see how does it work. We'll start with the time to fill. So this time to fill actually refers it takes to find and hire a new person, a new candidate. So which is often measured by number of days between the job which has got published, which is opened, versus the hiring of a candidate. So time to fill is influenced by supply and demand ratio for a specific job, as well as the speed at which the recruitment department is actually operating. So it is a great metrics for business planning, and offers a realistic view for the managers, and specifically to assess the time it will take to attract the replacement for the new departing employees. Now there is a word that we use very commonly in HR, that is indent. Indent is nothing but a person that we are looking at. So this actually helps us out, how much time any person will take, and what salary are we going to offer, are we going to do some buyback, or the person can join on an immediate basis or not. So this really becomes very, very critical and very helpful to know. Nowadays you will find that work from home concept is coming up, and a lot of analysis actually going on, that how many people are ready to work from home, how many people are actually looking to visit the organization. Some department needs office premises. Some are very good when they can actually work at home. So figure that out, and accordingly we can do that. The second one, if you can see here, is time to hire. So time to hire represents the number of days between the amount a candidate is approached and the moment the candidate accepts the job. So very simply, I'll put it in other word, it measures the time it takes for someone to move through the hiring process the moment they have applied. Okay, so time to hire does provide a solid indication of how a recruitment team is performing, and this matrix is also called as time to accept, so we call it TTA, right? So that has to be taken care. Now when we talk here in this time to hire actually represent the as I mentioned, that how it takes the number of days between the moment the candidate is approached and the moment the candidate is accepted. So the shorter time to hire often enables you to hire a better candidate. So this is as per again the research. This is, when I say research, that means this is as per the data which I have observed, and while into the recruitment space I saw how it works, and it actually prevent the best candidate from being snatched up by your companies that does have a short time to hire. So it also impacts your candidate experience, as nobody likes a recruiting process that takes a long time. There is one analysis I'm going to share is some of the organization, they actually want to give a beautiful experience to the people, whether they join, whether they don't join, whether they get hired, whether they don't get hired, but the experience process is so very beautiful that they actually remember that organization and they really talk good about your organization. So again, what exactly is the role of the organization, what is the vision of the organization, what is the projection into the HR front the organization is looking at, we have to really consider that. So this matrix is heavily influenced by the even recruitment funnel. So if you are hiring for jobs that have a relatively straightforward recruitment process of one interview, the time to hire, it will be shorter than when you have a phone intake, assessment day, 3 rounds of interviews or 4 rounds of interview, followed by a chat with the HR people, and then further followed by the chat with the department head. So for that reason, you should be a little careful when interpreting the time to hire benchmark we include actually. So kindly do not get confused into that element. Then we have source of hire. It's like where exactly we are hiring from. So we need to track down this. Now, this metric actually helps the to know the recruiting channel. Some of the examples are career page of an organization, or for that matter, the social media. Nowadays, LinkedIn has become very prominent, and I have known that we actually do a lot of ref check from the social media, that is the Facebook, or for that matter your Twitter, and we get to know that. So there are various other sourcing agency that can be used in this, right? And then we have the fourth one, which we call as a matrix, is first year attrition. So first year attrition is very very crucial as per me, because there is a cost which gets involved, right? So it also indicates the hiring success. Now candidates who leave in the very first year of the work actually fails to become a fully productive and usually cost a lot of money. So the first year attrition can be managed and unmanaged. I have known, and we have applied and got to know why people leave at the first year place. So you can actually do the analysis. And one of the reason I have identified in the analysis bit is people with the 2 years of experience actually tend to stay back in an organization compared to the person who doesn't have a experience and they're a newcomer, especially after the post grad. So this is just again on the analysis basis. And if my role needs an experienced, or we want to explore, so we need to prioritize the thing, and we need to make a new set of policies also. Then you need to manage attrition, which means that the contract is terminated by the employer. Unmanaged attrition means they leave on their own accord, and then the former is often an integrated, the first year performance, and then they become a bad fit for the team. So very important here is you need to understand the indicators of the unrealistic expectation which we cause the candidate to quit. We really need to figure that out, that why candidate is leaving. Now this could be a due to mismatch between the job description or what you mentioned and the actual job the person is doing. And you will be so surprised that yes, in so many times, especially on a portals, when you go, whether you go to naukri.com or whether you go to monster.com, shine.com, my suggestion is just look at it, and the JDs that they're writing, are they really correct and they're uploading the right thing before they put it into that kind of site. So being an HR professional, these are very, very important things to set the right statement, right JD, right job specification, so that we come up with the right set of person. So this metrics can also be turned around as a what we call is a candidate retention rate. Okay, so this is another CRR we call it, right? That's how we use it into the HR front. Then we have the another one which is called quality of hire. Now quality of hire, if you can see on the screen, I have given you one of the formulas also, but then let's try and understand here is it is measured the someone's performance rating gives an indicator of the first year performance of a candidate. We understand this. So candidate who receives high performance actually might be a very good for you, but with the low performance rating it could be having a opposite of the success. So the low first year performance rating are the indicative of a bad hire. So single bad hires can cost a company tens of thousands of rupees or dollars in both direct and indirect. But let me tell you here, okay, it's not necessary that the first year performance rating, if it is low, then that means the person has not performed. So we have to see the other analysis also when we are doing it, right? So we need to do the correlation, we need to do the regression that we talk in the statistics term and figure it out. So when you are combined with the channel through which the candidate was sourced, you can measure the sourcing channel quality, right? That could be one of them. The quality of hire is the input of the success ratio, which we all understand. So the success ratio actually divides the number of hires who perform very well, and the total numbers of the candidates has been hired. So the high success ratio means that most of the hired candidates perform well. However, a low ratio means that you need to fine tune your selection process. So my suggestion would be is you need to look into the quality of hire assessment rather than first year attrition, right? Just don't analyze your first year attrition matrix, and work on your the second element, which is we call it quality of hire also. Okay, then we have we call it hiring manager satisfaction. Now
Hi, if I'm audible.
yes,
Ma'am,
please.
this is Andrilla. I have a question.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So the point number 4, if I
Hmm.
go back, the first year admission, you have mentioned that there are so many reasons behind
Yes.
that, like
Hmm.
what are the probable reasons and what are that. So let's suppose if you have already quoted an example, like there is a mismatch, high
One of
mismatch
them.
in the one of the
Yes.
high mismatch between the JD which has been given to the candidate and
Hmm.
the actual work he is doing, that person is doing. So here I have a question, like how do you measure that? In that perspective, would it be like you are tallying between the JD part with the recent KRAs and KPIs, or how do you measure that? If you little briefly explain on
Okay.
what all
So
tools you
that is
use.
one of the answer you have given yourself. Okay, that is one of the answers. So you can measure the KPIs, you can measure the JDs. It doesn't mean that you will get the right answer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Important here is you need to check, as I mentioned, don't consider the first year attrition assessment.
Okay.
My suggestion is look into the quality of hire. It could be we need okay, I'll give you one very interesting insight. I'll give you with a very great example.
Mm.
Holiday Inn, right?
Yeah.
They have hotels worldwide. So in Europe, you will find there is actually a study in this. So in the Europe, uh, especially in the Middle East, Holiday Inn, lot of Eastern European were visiting in the Middle East
Mm.
holiday. Okay, now what they realized in the first year, there were a lot of misfit of the people. Then because they were not even aware that the customers, those who were visiting, were from the Eastern Europe. So they did an analytics, and then they analyzed that the people that they hired was a wrong people, not because of their competency, but because they were from not that set of culture. So what they did was they changed the hiring process, and they actually started putting people from the Eastern Europe. Okay, and then the moment in the new hiring they had that, all the Eastern Europe customers, when they were walking in, they used to start chatting, and we had a very comfortable chit chat. And then they realized the both productivity also went up and the attrition also reduced. So you really need to figure it out. As I mentioned here, check the success ratio of your quality hire. This is what my answer to you would be.
Okay. So,
Okay.
what
Mhm.
all tools are you suggest that through
Okay, so tools, my dear, in the second session, we talked about all the tools, right? I won't be able to repeat that, but my suggestion is you can go back to those notes, which is there on the YouTube. Second would be is I can send you, you can send me an email. I will send you the snippet of it. There are various tools which are available. Towards the end of these, so today we are sitting on the fourth session. In the coming sessions after fifth or sixth, I will be telling you which all the statistical tool that you need to use and how to apply that. So there
oh,
you will get an answer.
yeah, sure.
Correct?
Thank you so much.
Perfect. Very good. Thank you so much for bringing this out. Very interesting. Okay, so I was now moving ahead and going to talk about the hiring manager satisfaction. Now that's another very good, assessment that you can actually use in your own domain. So here hiring manager satisfaction is a very important indicative, and when you hire when the hiring manager is satisfied with the new candidate, you will see that they likely tend to perform in a much effective manner, and that is why you will find that they fit to the team. So in other words, I would say is that candidate is more likely to be a successful hire. That we need to do it, and we need to figure it out through our surveys, through our forced group interview, or through our one-to-one interaction sessions, or else through a 90-degree or 180-degree assessment. So these are various assessments that you can use it. Again, we have a candidate job satisfaction. So the way we have a customer satisfaction report, in the marketing gimmick. So candidate job satisfaction, definitely it gives you a tracking mechanism. It's set during the recruitment procedure. In this, a low candidate job satisfaction actually highlights the mismanagement of the expectation, or actually incomplete a job description. So we need to figure it out whether the score is low or whether the score is high. Please try and understand that this will actually help the present job, and both whether it is positive or negative aspect of the job to the potential candidate, and by creating a more realistic view. So have these kind of customer service approach also. Then we have I'm talking about going to talk about is uh, applicant per opening and selection ratio, right? Applicant per opening. Now What do we do in this? Basically, we the applicants, the job opening or the applicants per hire gauge the job popularity, so which you can read on the screen. So in this, the number of applicants actually per opening is not necessary here, and you need to narrow down the job description, which includes the number of the hard aspect, the hard facts criteria. The number of applicants can be reduced without reducing the number of suitable candidates. You know, for an example, if I'm looking for a professional person who's going to work on an assembly line, right? Now, in an assembly line, let's say I'm looking for an Six Sigma experts, right? So instead of making it a hard criteria, I will reduce it without, so I might find a Six Sigma experts, I might find, a TQM experts, and that is how the applicant per opening can actually come up, and you will get you a better results. With the applicant per opening, we have a selection ratio. Now, selection ratio actually, as it says, it refers to the number of hired candidate compared to the total number of candidates, right? Now, this is nothing but a selection ratio. It is similar to the number of applicants per opening. When there is a high number of candidates, the ratio between, the ratio approaches to zero. Okay, so the selection ratio provides information such as value of different assessment and recruitment tools, and it can be used to estimate the utility of a given selection and a recruitment system. So that is why you will find in this formula also, which is like number of higher candidates over the total number of candidates which has been came for this. Then we have cost per hire. I think this is one of the common, matrix which I have seen in a corporate world. A lot of people are using it. They end up checking the, various external costs. It could be in the form of agency fee, candidate expenses, other external costs, new hiring cost. It also includes, some organization also includes the training cost of the new hirer. So cost of hire is nothing but the total recruitment cost of the total number of hires. Now, here again, you need to figure it out how we can actually reduce the cost, right? So most of the people, they focus on the external cost actually getting reduced. But then my analysis says, if you figure it out, the internal cost, which is like time spent by the managers, the productivity which is getting lost, we also call it opportunity cost, then onboard hiring element. So figure those costs out, and every organization has their own set of parameters, and that will actually help you how we can actually have a wonderful experience, yet with a minimal cost can actually make them feel wow. I would like to give an example here of LG, because they do an amazing online amazing boarding of the new hires, and then as I'm a part of the training intervention with them, so I have seen them that the kind of people actually coming into the organization and joining them, and what all new initiatives they have taken, so whether it is not only into the psychometric test or the functional trainings or the quality trainings, but also giving the overall, the Korean culture. I tell you, it's so very beautiful that they literally don't leave very fast, and they're actually, giving the best to the organization. So again, cost per hire actually gets calculated on a long-term basis also, looking at their performance. Okay, then in this, the candidate experience is also makes a lot of difference. Now, candidate experience, they say, it's an very, very current hot topic which is going on. You'll be so surprised that I was going through one of the sessions of America, and in that they were mentioning that how they have actually started doing survey for the people working from home, and how they are taking that as an experience. Are they satisfied? Are they contented? They also were checking how the leaders are actually treating them, how much trust is getting generated, what are the integrity factor, what are the interpersonal issues and all. Now, so you will see that in this it uses with the NPS, which is net promoter score, which is nothing but an index ranging from -100 to 100, that we measure the willingness of what we do it in the marketing, that the willingness of a customer to recommend a company's product or services to others. That we also check it into the social media, that if I am using X product and I want to refer it to somebody else, and that's how the NPS gets used. Now it is used actually as a proxy for gauging the customer overall satisfaction within the organizations and the organization's products and services, as well as the customers' loyalty towards the brand. So what exactly is customer experience or a candidate experience? I'll put it in the HR front. It is how a job seeker perceive an employer's recruitment and onboarding process. It starts off an effective recruitment process which is a beneficial for both employee and employer, and it fulfills the need of the both the sides, on this side of the coin and the other side of the coin. So you will find an e-recruiter survey showed that I remember they said that 75% of the employees claims to care about the candidate experience at every single stage, at every single step, that how did they feel the moment they stepped into the organization, or even if they were applying it online, how was the experience. So at the same time, there was saying that I remember more than 50%, I don't have the accurate percentage figure, they say that candidates they say that the companies don't care about the people who are actually applying for the job. They just they really feel dissatisfied, and then you will find that the candidates actually they're increasingly sharing their experiences with others. Websites like Glassdoor actually makes a beautiful experience for the new recruitees, or those who are applying, to understand the recruitment process at a very transparent level, and understand the negative experience or a ongoing experience. I still remember, till date I get an email from Glassdoor for my experience with Honeywell. How do they treat people? How's the environment? How are the leaders? What is the culture looks like? So the candidates was I have seen that mostly the candidates are never asked for such kind of feedback of the experiences, but now it has become a day-to-day process. So I think you can actually use it in your organization, people who are coming in, and they feel pride and motivated with this. So I know one example, as I gave you about my experience with Honeywell. I know one organization called Virgin Media. They turned down almost 150,000 applicants in a typical year, and in 2015-16, which equates to over 7,500 customer applicants, were enough to cancel their contracts and switch to the competitors. You'll be so surprised. So by providing an excellent candidate experience, how Richard Branson sir was able to save, I was reading this case study, he saved $7 million in the lost revenue. So this is how the the aspect of analysis do comes in. Then we have offer acceptance rate, right? Now, the offer acceptance rates actually compares the candidate who successfully accept the job offer, and in this, the lower the rate is indicative of a potential compensation problem. Now, this is the major thing which has been analyzed. So when these problems occur, often the when the certain functions the pay can be discussed earlier in the recruiting process, so is an effort to minimize the impact of a refused job offer. So again, this was in the analysis which we identified, and you'll be so surprised that nowadays it's not a surprising element that there is a pattern of questionnaire you will be asked, and then the leaders or the HR professional actually tick that I have asked this question or not, when was this question asked. They actually use that particular method, and then they see that where did they go wrong. Was it from the problem from our side, or was it the challenge was with the the candidate who had come. So by listing pay in the job opening, or by asking the candidate salary expectations, sometimes it is important, sometimes at what particular stage you need to ask, you need to figure that out and make it a mandatory stuff as per the job requirement. Okay, then we have percentage of open position, OJP we also call it. So in this you will find that in this you will find the again percentage of open position, which actually talks about a number of OJPs, that is open positions are there over the total number of position in the organization. Lot of organization, I mean, we used to do the same thing in our ICICI Bank when I was serving them, and we used to figure it out that how many OJPs are coming, how many internal teams are actually applying versus the total position which was actually there in the organization. And then we really need to understand that do we have the right talent to put it to that particular job or not, for that role or not. And I still remember in ICICI Bank, one of the DNAs is nurturing talent, right? So nurturing talent actually used to get observed very strongly, and till date they focus on that the leaders need to nurture the new people, and so that they can actually take up to the next very role. So you can actually see from these things coming up, right? Then we have application completion rate, and also recruitment funnel effectiveness. So the application completion rate, as it says, it is especially interesting for an organization with elaborate online recruitment system. Now many large corporates firms require candidate to manually input their entire CV in their system, so before they can actually apply for a job. So dropouts in this process are indicative of the problem in this procedure. Example, web browser incompatibility with the application system of, or a non-user friendly interface. So this recruitment metrics fits well with one number, with our number here, which I'm going to focus in the point number 15, which is recruitment funnel effectiveness. So my suggestion is just not focus on the application completion rate. You need to see the recruitment funnel effectiveness also. Recruitment funnel effectiveness actually begins with the sourcing and ends with a signed contract, right? Now that's the entire process. So by measuring the effectiveness of the difficult steps in the funnel, you can actually specify a yield ratio per step. So this makes some excellent recruitment matrix. Now, just to give you an example, I'll just help you out with like 7 applicants applied versus 50 CVs has been screened, which is 15:1 ratio. For that matter, if we see 50 screened CV leads to 10 candidates submitted to the hiring managers, again 5:1 ratio. 10 candidates submission leads to the 5 hiring managers expectation, which is nothing but a 2:1 ratio, right? Could be another example. I would like to hire, let's for example, 1 offer to 1 hire, 1:1 ratio, or for that matter, 2 final interviews lead to 1 offer, 2:1 ratio, or another one could be 5 first interviews lead to only 2 final interviews, that is 5:2 ratio. So the recruitment funnel has changed a lot over a past, in couple of years due to the advanced HR trends. So these HR tech actually gets used very strongly, and the first few steps are often is itemized. So software actually helps you to automatically screen screen the CV and select the best fit. So some companies opt to go for a video interviews to change the submission, submissions, and even the first interview also. So why they're doing it? Just because of this particular element. So in other words, I would say it is we expect the funnel to change over a period of time, and we also have to change over a period of time. Then we have what we call a sourcing channel effectiveness. So sourcing channel effectiveness, helps to measure the conversation per channel, as you can see on the screen. Now, in a simple way to do this is we actually see and we can actually judge very quickly, very smartly the effectiveness of the various channel by using Google Analytics. And this Google Analytics actually can help you to track whether the person who viewed the job opening on your website, actually where that person came from. And by setting the goals like successful completion of an application from, this conversion rate can be made much more accurate furthermore. And maybe the people coming from LinkedIn or Twitter, for that matter, let's say they don't apply, but people coming from the Facebook do. Now, these are the analogies, analysis you need to figure it out and work on. So that's why you will find organizations have actually started using various sources to hire the people. Sourcing channel cost, yes. So as it says, you can calculate the cost efficiency of your different source channel, which is on the amount of money that you have spent on the social platform. So it is nothing but the ad spent per platform over the number of successful applicant per platform. And this you can actually get these reports from the Google Analytics, that how much you are actually end up spending and how much is the sourcing channel costing you. Then we have, cost of getting optimal productivity level. And also the last one, which I'm going to focus on, is the time to productivity. Now, OPL is the total cost involved, in getting someone as per your requirement. This actually includes things like onboarding cost, training cost, there is a cost of supervision cost, then the co-worker involved in the on the job training, for that matter, these are the you will see the percentage of the employees salaries also included in the calculation, and until they hit 100% OPL, which is your optimum productivity level. So on top of this metric, there is also, as I mentioned here, is logistical cost of replacing an employee. These are also called calculated with the help of cost per hire, which we just did it in the starting of the session. Then we have time of productivity. It is again correlates with the point number 18 of cost of getting optimal productivity level. So it measures how long it takes to get people up to the speed and how soon they have become productive. Now it is actually the time difference zone from the day one of the hiring till the time they have actually started contributing to the organization. Now, to handle these 9 and manage these 9, we need to have a different benchmark success, right? Now, these benchmark success, I am quoting here 5 of them to you, which is effectiveness, retention, efficiency, marketing, and strategy. Now, these metrics are grouped into 5 categories, and these have been grouped based on the maturity level, which I have observed in an industry, right? Now, all companies actually progress through these levels based on their appreciation of the business benefit of the talent acquisition and the management, how they grow and how they become, I would say, sophisticated. So, excuse me. So the maturity level starts with the first one is called efficiency. That's the level 1, what I have observed. Now here the company keeps credible efficiency records, which is related to the staffing time, cost, and performs at or under industry norms. So the key metrics would be cost per hire, and time to fill. Okay, so these are the two things that we use, the key metrics here. Now the key questions that you really can work on these efficiency is, can we reach 30% under industry norms, that is best practice territory? What could we outsource for our better performance? Now these are the questions. Based on these questions, I work on these benchmark success, and then based on these benchmark success, I use the key metrics. Now the second one is effectiveness. Now effectiveness is, here the company also monitors the staffing effectiveness, okay, which documents success in attracting the candidates that have the best qualification and they perform the best once they're hired. So you make the hiring manager really happy. Now here, the key question probably your stakeholder might ask, or you might ask, is how are candidates performing on the scale of 1 to 10 against the written list of expectations, right? So there are certain set of enablers, expectation that we write down. Based on that, we make a Likert scale and we figure it out. Then we also do that, what are the retention rates at the 3 months, 6 months, or an yearly basis. Now if we see these key questions are there, the first thing you should trigger here is the key metrics actually you're going to work on is the competency measured both against the job description and the performance. So there's a one lady, when she asked me the question, Anubha, how can we use it specifically when we're talking about the mismatch into the JD and the candidate who's actually coming in. So we really need to figure it out whether we are checking the efficiency, whether we are checking the effectiveness, and so on, right? Then we have, then we have the third element that we work on is, as per my experiences, marketing. Okay, so the first one is effectiveness, the first one is efficiency, second one is effectiveness, the third one is marketing. When company, the company actually, you will find they monitor staffing effectiveness, which documents success in attracting candidates that have the best qualification, performs the best ones hired, and makes hiring manager happy. As we talked into the marketing level, it focuses on very strongly is how the candidate were performing versus what were their competency. Now when I talk about these marketing, it actually touch upon the retention element. Okay, now the retention element actually focuses on the company's track their employees satisfaction and the engagement, which is accurately linked between the what we call it a measurement to retention and hiring demands. Okay, so here you ask the key questions like, what do our employees think of the company? Are they happy with their prospects or not? Are they going to recommend to the others or not? Now this key question, actually the key metrics you will immediately relate to is regular employee retention versus engagement, percent of employees referrals which are coming in, employers brand ranking in the marketplace. So this is the metrics that you work on, and that's how you will use the analysis accordingly. And then finally we have the planning. Okay, now the planning actually uses this the predictive analytics to project talent demand into the future. Okay, so the what exactly the future upcoming requirement on the roles are. So the most sophisticated roles, or for that matter the best of the organization, you will see they will apply this data to all the jobs from top management to the floor managers. Let me be very candid here. So the key question that they are going to ask, do we have the people we need to grow and prosper? How we accounted for attrition and other factors. Are we losing our best resources to our competitors? If yes, why is it happening? Now if you have such a set of questions, the matrix that actually comes here is a critical position which has been identified for today and tomorrow. That is the percent of talent available over the needed to fill these positions. Second could be percent of successor name trained and they're ready for a critical position. The moment you have these metrics in place, so these are all critical position which needs to be identified, and why we are not able to do it on a today's and tomorrow scenario, we'll give you an answer for it. So these are the things which actually keeps going on, and you will find that I am here on the screen showing you the recruiting dashboard, you know, how the management requirement and the dashboard actually works. So there is an ultimate expression of each maturity level, is, you know, and you will find that we really have to work on it. Just to give you an example, that you know, how the head of HR might wants to see a snapshot of all the sourcing channel results by month on month basis, or for that matter your HR director or CHRO might ask you the recruitment, the recruiting which might want to see on the career site traffic. Okay, there could be also another report which could be on the time to fill by hiring manager, daily pipeline, candidate funnels, percentage of offers accepted versus rejected. So trust me, if you have such kind of analysis, it will really give you a lot of insight, you know. And this is how I'm giving you depicted that we use the various tools, and these tools actually gives you very great insight about the people who are actually joining. So if the job, you know, you can see here on the job performance of accounting manager and accounting application engineer, so how many actually you know, people applied, how many actually viewed it, how many actually clicked for and applied for it. So this will really help you to give the analysis, and then you can do the prediction of the stuff. So the same very way, you can further go of offer to accept ratio, you know. See, look at that grid actually describes every title, the category, the offer, and then finally offer which was actually sent and finally accepted. So you really get into a percentage basis, and then this is how you will need to figure it out, that how much you're contributing to the you know, the growth of the organization. So since every aspect of the company requires different metrics, it is worth noting which metrics are the baseline, and that all employees can actually understand and use for their improvement. Now having software or technology system that allows your employees to view a variety of dashboard, you know, that are tailored to their specific need, you can actually do it in your own setup. You know, there are various organizations. For example, HR1 is one software company who give very descriptive analysis on to the performance management, leave application, job hiring. So use those things and keep understanding the data. Then I'm giving you how the candidate pipeline is getting used. Another requisition, you know, again a grid for all of you. Number of people actually coming in and joining and hiring, and then finally offers are made. So these are now the finally the key takeaways, ladies and gentlemen. You know, the very important here is, I'm not going to go deep dive into each line. You all can read it aram se in later stage. So good data is really critical, ladies and gentlemen. So make sure your source is accurate. The model actually depends highly on the metrics and the business analysis. Please ensure which metrics to use at what particular fundamental based on the key question your stakeholders are asking, your management is asking. Understand the powerful trends which are actually reshaping. Start understanding. For an example, 2 days back I was reading in an economic times that the 5 days working is going to change the concept, you know. So probably we will not talk about are your organization as a 5 day working, but instead I think we might say how many hours do you you know, give it to your organization on a weekly basis. So there could be a threshold benchmark which could be there, you know, could be a 48 hours, 60 hours, I don't know, but the trends are actually changing. Focus on quality and not quantity. Trust me, the quality can give you the best of the results. And you keep observing, keep you know, regularly view the performance. That's very important, what I know. And you know, customize your dashboard. That's what I can say. Dashboard customization is very key, and then you can actually work on it. And you know, give the matrix, give the performance, understand the you know, the requirement by your stakeholders, and then dive it into the importance of your HR element onto the recruitment. right? So with this, thank you so much. If you want to reach out to me, please feel free. If you have any query, any question, we can have that. Okay, so Ajay, I can see you are asking for okay, screenshot is difficult. I totally understand. We will send you. So anyhow, it's there on the YouTube. You will be able to see that, right? Any other query question if you have? Anyone? Any query, any question? No, I don't see. Okay, I think there is no query and a question. So with that note, I'm going to um, stop sharing the screen, and thank you so much. If you want any other query and a question, we will be definitely in touch, and you can reach out to me, right? Thank you. Thank you so much. Pleasure. Thank you.